Hi all. Right, welcome back. It's in Kharkov, German Solo, part 7. Okay, we're on to a new day. As in, it's a new, fresh day for me. So I've watched back part 5 and 6. Uploaded part 5 last night. It was late last night. So no comments from that, but then there was no gameplay in that. It was just fixing things and talking about things. Then I'm just uploading part 6 just now, so I would have kind of liked to have had that getting out there for people to look at, because we did start involving a lot of this 9.25, and I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. It felt right, but that doesn't necessarily mean it all was. Now I watched back on everything as well. Maybe didn't study it carefully, but I like to try and look it over and whatever, so I didn't see anything untowards, but that's not to say it's not there. Yeah, okay. Nothing else I picked up. The only thing I did pick up on, put a comment in the header, part 6, when I was reviewing this attack here, that we introduced the reserve and we should have stopped and not introduced the other one. My adding up was terrible. I had 14 against 3, and that stayed at 3-1 for quite some time. I never even noticed that it should have been 4-1. It didn't really matter to what I was saying, but I put it in there just to point out that I can actually add sometimes. Okay, so it's going to be a German impulse. We did talk last night, just before we finished, that we thought maybe just bringing this guy back. That is our hand here. Now, I did remember after the fact that this has the engineers event on it, which would allow the build of 3 IPs or removal of some IPs from the Soviets, which is not going to happen at the moment. They're on the offensive, so in fact I don't think they start building IPs until turn 4 or 5 maybe. I don't even think it's part of their instructions. However, this card also has engineers on it as well. So, and the fact that we've got all the core Rouse units back outside the artillery barrage zone, if I did want to play engineers, then this card might be just as good an option, and it would allow us to play this and bring that guy back out. So the other considerations, the 2 middle cards, 40 core again, I don't know, I don't think we really want to move it yet. I'm not really sure what we're doing with it, right, to be honest. Protecting Kramatorsk, obviously, but so I don't think I'm going to have to use the card at some point, so I don't know. Or maybe just adjust some of them. We'll wait and see what the Germans do, and maybe adjust some of the units, possibly put something into Kramatorsk maybe. We'll see what happens between now and then, so that's probably a card to keep till a bit later in the turn. We still have 2 cards in our draw pile to get, and then of course the last one's deploying of the second SS, and I do want to do that, but again I don't see the urgency in doing that, and we might as well try and give this guy a bit of a chance. I think I know it's like using 1 card to activate 1 unit, but it might save him. Okay, so I'm going to activate all 57 core units. Oh, this is Kampfgruppe. I didn't even notice that. I was forgetting about them, because we didn't actually have I'm saying we didn't draw anyone. This was in our hand from the start, wasn't it? I didn't get caught out with any of the other 2. No, they were full activations. Right, but you need to watch that, Grant. Okay. It's not going to affect anyway. So I activate all 57 core units within 2 hexes of 1 hex of your choice. Now you'll see it's a wee bit different from the Soviet solo game, that because you can actually pick a hex that's not got anything in it, whereas I think the Germans and the Soviet solo have to target one of their units and then go 2 hexes from there. So that would enable you to gather 2 units that were like 4 hexes in between each other. So I think that's right anyway. This says 1 hex of your choice. I'll double check it when we come to it, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. However, in this case it doesn't matter, we just activate this 1 unit and we don't get to activate anything else. It didn't mention stat units there, whereas the Germans in the Soviet solo game did benefit from that, didn't they? Let me just have a wee look. Yeah, it doesn't pick up stat unit, it only picks up the eligible units that are talked about on the card, which are 57 core units. And yes, indeed, you can place the marker, and it used the camp group marker, you know. So you can place that anywhere on the map, and it can be in a Soviet, you know, it's just, that's where you decide where it's going to be. It can be in an enemy hex, it's only to just put it where you're going to grab the most units. But it doesn't pick up stat units as well, unless of course they're from 57 core. Right, anyway, Grant. Right, so I'm going to activate this guy, and yeah, it's nothing fancy, is it? It's because it's 1, 2 breaking zone of control, 3, and if I want to get out to artillery barrage zone, it's just straight back there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's as simple as that. But it does lock up this gap that we had as well, because at the moment, before I move him, these units can get through here. Now I go 1, 2, 3, 4 back to here, and there's now not a gap between our units, and that's I was just about to say every unit outside the artillery barrage zone. That's not true. I know this unit's not, but however, yeah, just notice all these 3rd core units are within it, aren't they? And we know we've got that card to come. We know we've got the 3rd core primary card to come, and we've got one other random card. So, well, we're just about to draw one of the 2 cards, because that's our impulse over. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Feels okay. Maybe not nothing startling, but it's keeping a line and it's keeping them outside the barrage zone, and that feels like the best you can really try and do, I think. Okay, so well, let's draw up to our hand size of 4 again. So we're going to draw one more card. So this will either be the 3rd core card or the mystery card that we're going to get. And it is indeed the 3rd core card. And it's got pull out on it, the combat tactics. But, well, I'm saying we want to move them. I don't know, because I mean, one of them is actually holding Izium, the victory point, you know. It doesn't look like any of them could get around to go in there and support, but yeah, I'm not sure what I would want to do with that. However, we do have it as a pull out if we feel the urgency to do that, to get one of our guys out of a combat. I'm not so sure that's what we would do. The other thing, however, was activating 3rd core. Yeah, he's a 3rd core unit. This is the one that got that NKVD event operation thing the last turn. So I would remove the dispersal from him. Yeah, to be honest, we probably would be as well backing these units out now that we've lost Slavansk anyway. So we could back these 2 out, and I'm not sure. So yeah, probably will want to use it for that, but well, we'll see what happens in between. Right, I might as well push on then and get the next Soviet impulse started, and yeah, okay. Right, yeah, I was just thinking back there. No, we only had 1 unit anyway. Yeah, couldn't build IPs or anything like that. Right, okay. So Soviet impulse time, we're going to draw 2 cards. So we've got no primary cards there. So we look at, first of all, if none of them are primary or both of them are primary, we then look at the numbers, the command value of the cards. They're both got a command value of 1. So don't think I mentioned this before, but if you do get that situation, then you check, it's going to be the lowest number, I think. I'll need to double check. I think it's the lowest number. Yeah, if command values are the same, which they are, they're both 1, then it's the lowest ID number on the card. So this is a 3, this is a 6, so these are going to switch over. Kind of makes sense. This is 3rd Tank Army, which is probably, they're both units cards these, but anyway. Okay, so we do have an event this time on the auxiliary card. Between 1 and 5, the event is command delay. I think I've seen this already and looked at it. Does it not just shuffle the card in or something? So let's see. Soviet command events, command delay. If this card is the current auxiliary card and there are 4 more cards in the Soviet draw pile, return this card to the draw pile and shuffle. Does not apply if not the auxiliary card or if there are less than 4 cards in the Soviet draw pile. Right, okay. Well, we're pretty sure we've got a bunch. We've got a bunch of cards still to come. 1, 2, 3, 7. I think there's 8. There's 1 there. 1 more there, so that's 8. Right, you're just about to shuffle that then. Okay, so this actually just gets shuffled back in. So that means they don't start this turn with an auxiliary card as such. Well, they had one, now it's going to shuffle back in. If this card is a current auxiliary card and there are 4 more cards in the Soviet draw pile, return this card to the draw pile and shuffle. Okay, that's fine. That's all shuffled up, so that one's been put away again. We'll see it again later, no doubt. Right, so our command card is 3rd Tank Army units. And the first command on the card is activate up to 2 unit stacks in 3rd Tank Army, not in a VP hex, and all army reserves. And there's some preferences. Right, okay, let's go and have a look. Okay, so there's our 3rd Tank Army units. Now, activate up to 2 unit stacks in 3rd Tank Army, not in a VP hex. I don't think any of these guys are in VP hexes, no. There's no towns round about here. So we can select any of them. I suppose you're directly looking at there's 2 units here and 2 units here, so I guess might be that that's what happens, but maybe not. And all army reserves. Well, there's no 3rd Tank Army reserve, so we've got a pop-off unit and a 1st Guards unit for the Soviets in the reserved units box. So preferences are supplied, well, they're all supplied. B, not surrounded, none of them are surrounded. C, highest strength. Yeah, 2 unit stacks. So it is when that says high strength, then I'm just assuming that because it's looking at unit stack, it means both of them together. So there's 6 in that hex, and there's 7 in that hex. So these are the ones that are going to activate. Now, I wonder if I should try this. Yeah, is that right? Supplied, not surrounded, high strength. Well, and D is most units, so that would trigger them as well. But yeah, C is most strength. That's 6. This one's a 5 on its own, but this is 6, this is 7. So they're the 2 stats that are going to activate. Now, I just had a wee comment for John Brown saying he's still watching the Soviet solo and just thought he'd try and pick up with the German solo, try to keep up to date a little bit. He says he'll no doubt fall behind again, but right, that's not relevant to what I'm talking about here though. But he mentioned that he has a more complex way of tilting and to show units what they've done, and it sounded a wee bit more than I'd like to have added, but after thinking about it, I think I do need something else. He was talking about possibly he was going to start using cubes or counters or something. So I think what he said he does is, when the units are active, he turns them anti-clockwise 45 degrees. So, I mean, when I've been moving units, I do it that way, so that's clockwise. So what he does is, my guess is that he does that to activate the units. So to show, because you can see here, if you're not switched on, or if you get drawn away, you know, I could have to pause right now and go away and come back, and I'm like, okay, I've got this on video, so I've got the advantage of being able to sort of say, right, I'll look back on the video footage to see. But if you weren't recording it, then it'd be even harder to sort of remember what it was you were doing. On occasion, I mean, sometimes they're straightforward. You could just look over this card again and say, well, it's clearly these two stats I've activated. But what if you'd maybe moved one of the units? How would you then show it? So I think what he says he does is, once he's moved the unit, he turns it the way I do it. So let's just say that unit moves into there. So this unit's still active, this unit's moved, and then if this unit is then carried out an attack, I think what he does is it goes like that. So it looks a wee bit more complex, but I'm not sure if I want to bring that in or not. It does seem that you want to be able to be clear on what units are active, what units have moved, and then what units have entered combat. I mean, my bit there, what I decided I've been doing is, right, this unit's moved, right? Once everything's moved, I've then been taking them back. So, yeah, it's not easy to do when you're. It's different when I'm activating the whole core, the whole army. But now we're just activating 4 units out of the army. So, I mean, the other thing I could do, well, I use the cubes. Yeah, you know, I mean, I could do that to say that these 2 stacks of units are active. But what if I've got a 40th army unit underneath here? Then he's not active underneath. Whereas John's way of doing it, if it was a 40th army unit underneath, he would just do that, showing that that was active, but the unit underneath is obviously not tilted, so it's not active. So that works better that way, doesn't it? Yeah. Right, well, you know what? I do have the benefit of the video footage, so I'm going to take a little bit of a chance, because, I mean, it does sound... I think if... the other thing is, if I started doing it that way, I would become in the habit of it, and it would be fine. I suppose I'm a bit concerned about seeing units like that and that, maybe, and then sort of saying, right, what's what? But I suppose if you start getting the habit and you know what you're doing, then it sounds like not a bad idea, actually. But I'll persevere for now the way I've been doing it, John. But I think it does sound like a good idea. Maybe some others might think that. Because I've just like you say, if you put a cube on top and you've got an inactive unit below, that kind of, your way works for that, whereas putting a cube on top, I don't think it's going to, unless there's another way of doing it. Right, let's just persevere with what we've got. I know the 2 stacks that are active, 4 units are active, so yeah. Or will I? No, let's just keep it the way I've been doing it just now, just in case it messes me up. And if I find I'm getting myself all confused, then I might introduce something like that, what he's talked about. Okay, so first things first, the front objective, well, still unlikely to be moving. There's not a Vornez front unit in the hex. There's not a German unit in the hex, and a Vornez front unit adjacent to the hex. And there's not a Vornez front proximate to the hex. Now, we're closer now in distance, obviously. Yeah, he still can't actually reach, but there's no gap here still, so there's nothing proximate to it. So it's going to stay where it is, okay. And yeah, and we're now just going to go and activate the units. Jet formations, objective marker, move active on map units. Right, in a sec. Okay, so we're still on 9.21, turns 1 to 4, Soviet movement methods A. So first one is take VP hex. We cannot take a VP hex. The nearest German VP hex is here, and we can't break through that. We can't get adjacent to that. So let's try and forget about that and just see what they're going to do otherwise. And also they're not adjacent to it as well. We do need to remember if a unit does get adjacent to a VP hex, that urban infiltration could kick in. So hopefully we remember that when it comes to time. So the second movement method is adjacent to German VP hex and near objective. Well, again, we cannot get adjacent to the nearest VP hex, which is here. Even for these two stacks, I think that's still the nearest, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Full chance, because still the nearest. So we can't get adjacent to that. Movement method 3 is open supply line, doesn't start until turn 3. Movement method 4 is cause surround. Now, don't think it's quite possible, is it? So what are we looking at for surround and descending order? 16 under there. No, there's 17. He's infantry. So 1, 2. I mean, we can get in there, but he's got an out hex. Yeah, that's what I used these yellow cubes for though as well, didn't I? Although I'm sure I could find other markers. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's got to stop there. Yeah, there's no. We can't get anything into that hex. However, you can get something in that hex, Grant. Okay. So that's not going to win out for him. So I think. Well, no, this is the thing. He's not surroundable with one movement. Or is he? No. Because if I use this unit to come round 1, 2, into here, you know, if I put a unit into there, so I put a unit into there, then he still has an out hex here. And if I put one of these units into here, then he still has an out hex here. So, and we can't, although we could move both units around and get them surrounded, that's not what the instruction. The instruction's like looking for you moving one unit and surrounding a German unit. And I can't do that. That's right, and I'm looking at that and I'm just not quite 100% sure, but I think what I've just said there makes it not doable. Yeah, I think I'm sticking with that one. So we can't surround, and there's no other guys we could surround. I mean, we can't get through this gap to come down here, for instance. This guy's sitting out on the open himself. Yeah, like I say, there's no real gap to get through, but you can see that we could get round about that with two movements and get that guy surrounded. But that's not how it works. So on to movement method 5. To Soviet VP hex. Move to an empty garrison Soviet VP hex. Targeted for active. Oh wait a minute, I'm forgetting we're spearheads, aren't we? Yeah. So we shouldn't be trying to cause surround. My bad. Yeah, we skip. Units in Soviet 3rd Tank Army and Mobile Group pop off are considered spearhead units. So between 1 and 2, supplied spearhead units skip methods 4 to 9. unless they occupy a town or city. Yeah, so all that thinking about surrounding, and these aren't actually active for that. These don't. That movement method doesn't apply to them. So none of them are in towns or cities. So we do in fact skip 4 to 9, and they just move on to step 10, which is follow movement arrows. And they need to spend all their movement. This is in ascending order. So unlikely. This guy can go 1 into here and then he's got to stop. That's going to be the same for the unit underneath. He can go 1 into here. He does have a secondary arrow though. 1, 2, and then has to stop. Or 1, 2 if you follow the second arrow, has to stop. And same with the infantry unit underneath. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, infantry you could go in there for 1, but that's stopping as well. Yeah, so not getting to spend all their movement, so they won't use that method. So movement method 11, move closest to front objective. Move to hex closer to the unit's front objective, not the same distance from the objective. And they want to prefer getting the closest, and then preference B is adjacent to German occupied hex with the least strength. Okay, and this is an ascending order as well. Right, let's well, their front objective's down here, so yeah, I'll keep the picture open like that just now. So unit 4. Well, yeah, he's gonna get a bit. I mean, I want to say maybe could be going here. Well, let me put some cubes down because I like putting cubes down. Right, I think that's the first guy's couple of options. We'll look in, let's say, ascending order. So unit 4 first, and both the hexes are as close as we can get to the front objective, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away. So we have two options, and the preferences were closest to, that's as close as we can get, adjacent to German occupied hex with least strength. Yes, because we can't get into 1, 2, 3. We can't get into this hex, and although this has got the least strength between these two, this is further away, and the first preference is to get as close as possible to it. So that hex doesn't count, and we can't get into that hex because it's in between. We'd be going from zone of control to zone of control. So we have to just consider this unit, and he's the lowest strength that we can reach and get as close as possible. And then third preference is empty hex, so they're both empty hexes. So first we need to look at tiebreakers. Closest to units objective marker, well, they're both as close. An empty hex, they're both empty. The hex furthest in the compass direction, right, so west is down the way, isn't it? Yeah, so this one would be the preference over that one. I'm just going to put that back there. Take that away, but, well, to be honest, I probably should just leave that because they're the two options that we had, because now I need to just look at 9.25 just in case. Now, there's no restrictions broken yet, I don't think. Now, there's not a restriction that says dangerous surround for this, because you can see this guy's now in dangerous surround. I don't think it goes into it as much. Let's just double check. Cause a surrounded German unit to become no longer surrounded. Cause one or more German units to become proximate to a VP hex. No. Cause a map edge VP hex to become vacant, and then from 4+, cause a Soviet unit to become unable to trace supply. Okay, but that doesn't start from turn 4. And then mechanised units ending in marsh. So no, there's not. They don't care about ending in dangerous around. In fact, I don't. What is it? It's not. They don't use. Is it nearly surrounded or something? They use a different terminology in this. Where is nearly surrounded? Nearly surrounded. A Soviet unit is considered nearly surrounded if a potential move by one undispersed German unit would cause that Soviet unit to become surrounded. Does not apply if the Soviet unit is in a friendly NAPH hex. That's making it a bit easier, isn't it? Because that's saying that because dangerous round, in fact, there's dangerous round even in this. No, it's not even referenced. Because dangerous round allows you to look at all units and getting round about, whereas that one, nearly surrounded, means can one unit move and surround us? Well, he is nearly surrounded then at the moment, because that guy could just go in there. But it's not worried about it at the moment. It's not mentioned here, so let's move on. Right, I've lost my page. Where are we? I went away forward instead of back. What am I doing again? Right, 9.25 I like to look at, that's right. Because he's moving adjacent to German unit, we need to check the preferences in that. Operational limit doesn't count. Hex that would cause German unit to become surrounded, no. A hex and Soviet support, they're all in support. A hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit, well, both of these would be not adjacent to a Soviet unit. An empty or garrison hex, they're both empty. A hex not occupied by an active unit. Right, so he's fine. It wouldn't be preferential to being in that hex, so he's going to move there. And I think all is good in the world. So Unit 6 is next. Right, now, see, this is where I've got to remember that this is. I'm going to maybe do what John's been doing. That sounds like I mean, what about, hang on. What about if I do, nah. Let's try the way John was talking about, and I think this is the way he's talking about. So these are our 3 active units, right, that are left. Well, this unit's still active, but this is a unit that's moved. So I can see the difference between them. Let's try it, because admittedly that guy's sitting there on his own in between the 4 units. You get called away for something, you come back, you're like, which guy was it again? Unless you mark him somehow. So let's try it. So next unit is Unit 6. He's mechanised as well, so he's got a bit of movement. Now he's wanting to try and get closer to his front. Movement method 11, so let me mark some options. Right, I think that was his options. I just put them up first, but these 2 here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. And these 2, well, and this one is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So they're not as close. Remember, the first preference is to get as close as possible. So he's actually able to reach the same 2 hexes. Yeah. And okay. So, and the preferences are closest to the front objective. Yeah, both of them are adjacent to German occupied hex with least strength. Both of them are. The third one is empty hex though. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the empty hex. And where did he come from? Here. Okay, so no restrictions look broken there. Does 9.25, is 9.25 happy about that? Bearing the fact that it could only reach these 2 hexes. Can't surround, Soviet support. A hex not adjacent to a here you go then. Here you go. This is an incident now where I think I talked about this before, but we weren't actually able to. And I talked about it way back at the beginning. I think it was with the 6th Army units. I think it was maybe in the first or second part. These are the 2 hexes that you can go to. This is where he wants to go throughout his requirements and also preferences. That's where he's settled in. But he could have reached these 2 hexes adjacent to this unit. he can't reach any of these other hexes adjacent to this unit. So he's not breaking any restrictions. So then, because he's moving adjacent to German unit, we need to check 9.25. And then the preferences are a hex within current Soviet operational limit. They're all within that. A hex that would cause the German unit to become surrounded. Well, neither of the two hexes are going to do that. A hex in Soviet support. They're all in support. D, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. And this is where it could be possible that this is maybe what John was talking about. I wonder if I should look at that errata just in case. Because that preference right there now, if I put this guy here as adjacent, he's adjacent to a Soviet unit. Now, if I put him here, he's not adjacent to a Soviet unit. But that kind of wants me to think that I don't think they would be wanting you to stack them. And now I could be wrong, because the one that we got changed in the previous game was, the wording was not adjacent to a, right, hang on, let me just put it as it would be put. It would be not adjacent to a Soviet unit that was adjacent to the same German unit. Well, that's not what it's saying here. It's only just saying a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. Well, this hex is adjacent to a Soviet unit, and this one is not adjacent to a Soviet unit. However, it's occupied by a Soviet unit. And what John did was he changed the wording to say a hex not occupied by or adjacent. And that's what he changed it to. And I'm wondering if this could be a similar situation, but I don't know. Rules as written, he goes in this hex, not this one. But what do you think? I mean, it feels like it'd be better equipped being in an empty hex adjacent. I mean, they always want to try and reach empty hexes. I'm sure the following preference is indeed, and the following preference E is an empty or garrison hex. But preference D means he doesn't go into the empty hex, he goes there. I'm going to go check that errata document, and I'll eventually get it printed out. So, and my printer's not up here, it's down the stairs, and that's what it is. But I will need to get it printed out. I'm going to have a look at it just in case there's something about that. Okay, I was away checking the errata there, and there's nothing to help me out with this one. So I decided to pop a question out there asking if it was intentional that this unit would not end up in this empty hex and would adjust to a hex that wasn't adjacent to the Soviet unit. I've got a feeling that this is one. I looked back in the question I'd asked, and John did errata this, like I say, and I'm sure he had said that this may be something that might have come up in German, but I can't quite remember. That might have been regarding something completely different to this. But I could see this being a similar kind of thing, and like I say, the wording being changed to say that not occupied by or adjacent to a Soviet unit. So rather than have, like I say, what we're reading just now, and I put the wrong book away. Hang on. I was looking through the Soviet solo as well, and I put the German solo book away. So 9.25 it is, isn't it? So rather than it saying a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit, if it said a hex not occupied by or adjacent to a Soviet unit, that would clear it up, and then it would move on to the next preference, a hex, an empty or garrisoned hex, and it would actually stay in the empty hex, rather than just now, the way it's worded, it wants to go there. So, yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have to wait on a response, so I don't want to make a mess of this. However, we can probably gather the units together and check, because he's either going to be here or here. So let's just leave him there. I get the feeling that he probably should be there, but again, this needs a change, an adjustment to the rule to say that. So rules as written, like I say, that's where I see the guy going, unless I'm missing something myself. Oh, also came across a couple of bits of errata. Admittedly, there's a bit of errata or clarification that turns 1 to 4, you do check 9.21, even if the army objective marker wasn't, the front objective marker wasn't on the map. Because I think I had read that wrong, but there you go, it was a bit errata. And it also mentions that open supply line is from turn 3, and that must have been an omission from the, is it the player aid, I think? So it's in the errata as well, so that's good stuff. So yeah, we'll see if anything comes back on this. Well, let's try and finish off this part, and then we can just put it out there, and hopefully we can still do this attack check without, just it might depend on what chits come up or what, because if the unit's here or here. Right, well he's either here or here, so I'm going to leave something else marking that hex. I'll just leave one of these, I've not got anything else. So that's a possibility where unit selector number 6 might be in, if we find that should be written in the way that I'm kind of suggesting. If not, if we don't hear back, then I've got to just go by the rules and just leave him where he is. Now I had to do that in my Soviet solo playthrough because it was a little bit of time before we got a confirmation that yes indeed it should have been worded slightly different. So if that happens, then there's nothing I can really do about it. I mean, it looks like the unit's still going to make the attack check from the same hex. Well, however, yeah, no, it'll not matter, I don't think. Right, I'll leave him on top as well. I know he's a lower selector, but I'll leave him on top just now. Okay, Grant, move on. Right, where the other 2 active units are here, and no restrictions broken again. So the other 2 infantry units, can they get closer to what they want to do? Move closest to front objective. Right, let's have a look. It'll be unit 16 we're looking at. Okay, I think this unit 16, that has 3 options. Obviously they're just infantry, so not able to get as far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all 5 hexes away. 2, 3, 4, 5 from the front objective. So that's as close as they can get. Isn't it? 1, 2, because he can't go through that hex. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it's either the A2. So there's these 3 possibilities. So they're the closest, adjacent to German occupied hex with least strength. Well, that takes that one out of the equation, and that means that he's either going to go to one of these 2 hexes because it's adjacent to this 2 strength unit, and then the final one is empty hex. Yeah, that's true, but they would be further away, wouldn't they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you need to watch, not just pick an empty hex, Grant. Actually, hang on. 1, 2, you could go in here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that would have been another option. So, well, these are both adjacent to a lower strength unit than what this is. Also, this is an occupied hex, but anyway, that would come away. They would still consider this even if this was occupied and this was occupied. So that's the 2 options there, and yeah, I was just wondering. No, we were able to get within 4, weren't we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's just I forgot about that hex. I need to watch that. I mean, he could even go to this hex, to be honest. Yeah. And that's 5 away as well. But again, it's adjacent to a stronger German unit than what these 2 options would be. So, but you've got to watch, Grant. Come on. Just make sure you're. I mean, this one I can go to 2, but this is 6 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are 2 5 away. Right, okay. So we've got 2 and they're both empty hexes, so we need to break that with tiebreakers. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the western one, isn't it? Closer to the empty hex, further in the compass direction, yeah. So further west is going to be this one. So he's going to move 1, 2 into there. Right, I'll leave the other green cube because that was his other possible priority. His other option. So no restrictions, no. So 9.25 again. No operational on that. No surround. No, because even that one would not surround, would it? At the moment he's got an out hex here. Oh, wait a minute. Right, well, if this guy is here, right, then this surrounds that unit. Whereas if he moves to here, this unit is not surrounded. But I think if he moves to there, and that unit is here rather than here, he's surrounded, isn't he? Yeah, he is. So, but if that unit's in there, then he's not surrounded from either hex. Well, let's see if he stays where he does, because if he stays there, then it's not going to matter. So, going by this unit being in this hex, 9.25 says a hex that would cause German unit to become surrounded. So that's a no. So neither of these two options would do that, as we've got it set at the moment. A hex in Soviet support, yeah, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. Well, this is adjacent to a Soviet unit, but this would also be adjacent to a Soviet unit. An empty garrison hex are both empty. A hex not occupied by an active unit. Right, that's good then. So they're not occupied by an active unit. So this is where he would stay. 9.25 does not change where he would go, which is just as well, because if we do adjust this guy back to there, he would definitely have went there to surround this guy. Okay. And yes. Right, and then the final unit. Right, where's he going to go? Yeah, it just comes back down to these two hexes again. So, right. Well, let's check the movement method first. So, closest to the front objective, both of them are 4 away from the front objective. That's as close as we can get. Adjacent to German occupied hex with the least strength, both of them would be that. And remember, if we went into that hex, we'd be 5 away rather than 4 away. So although he's got a lower strength, we're still the first preference is closer to. Right, okay. And then empty hex. Okay, so now we don't know, because is that other unit in the hex he's in, or is he in the other one? So that's going to, with the movement method and with what we've got just now, he's going to go in this hex. Yeah, this is going to cause trouble, isn't it? Well, what would 9.25 do with that then? If it was in that hex, operational on that hex, it would cause German unit to become surrounded. A hex that would cause, the German unit to become surrounded. So that's the unit we're moving adjacent to. So it's not talking about this one. It does say the German unit. So my belief in that is, although we may be moving here to surround that guy, that's not what that's asking. It's asking if we're surrounding the unit we're adjacent to. By all means, tell me if I'm wrong with that one, but that came up in Soviet Soul as well. Nobody ever mentioned it. So I'm assuming I had that thinking right. It was something similar anyway. So then a hex in Soviet support, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. Yeah, I can see this being changed, because right now that then means that unit also wants to stack in there, doesn't it? Because then it's not going to be adjacent to a Soviet unit. Whereas if it goes there, it is adjacent to a Soviet unit. Okay. So, and if that unit was in there, would he... I'm going to get confused if I move them all down. Could really do with finding out about this, but it's probably going to have to come from Mr. Butterfield himself. Although the guys could, Tom and Martin and that, could possibly say that, yeah, they think it should be changed, it should be the same as what we're talking about. Or they might put me straight, I suppose, and saying, well, no, it's because it is intentional because of. So we know this guy's going to come down here to one of these two hexes. And if that third tank unit was in there, well, where would he go then? He wouldn't find an empty hex. So he would go to the westernmost hex, which would be here. But then he might tactically adjust. Well, I don't think he would. Yeah, it would certainly come into one of these hexes. The thing is, if this guy was in here, he would then look further down, and well, the last preference is a hex not occupied by an active unit, so both of them would be occupied by an active unit. So I'm not sure where that would default to. I'm going to get myself in a muddle here, aren't I? If I move it and then... Well, can you not watch back on the footage, Grant, and make a decision from that? Okay, what I'm going to do is move it, as going by the rules, this unit would have moved into this hex, and then he would have adjusted again into this hex. That's making me even... hang on. Yeah, we're alright, stepwise. It's making me even more think that this isn't right, because... You know, I mean, okay, I did wonder about the possibility, because it was talked about the fact that this is a units card itself, so if we play a units card again, then that's a big stack to activate. You're getting 3 units out of that. So there is some benefit in stacking units up, but it's generally not been the case within John's AI system. It's generally wanted to pick empty hexes, and obviously it would want to flank. You know, you could have an instance there if it was a Soviet unit where it wouldn't go there. I know this is German unit, because it was adjacent to a Soviet unit, and end up going there and not flanking that unit, which doesn't make sense. Okay, surround is before, not adjacency, but flanking's not. It's not talked about, so yeah. Right, I'm going to put them all there, and just to get this part finished. So that's everybody moved. I'm going to take these cubes away. No restrictions broken. There is a high chance that there might be some adjustment between what units are in here and something's going to go in here. I don't know if 2 units will end up in there, or I'll need to look it back over once I get an answer. However, if I get an answer that says, no, that's intentional, then what we've got just now is as is. So I'm going to leave that little cube there just as a wee reminder. And yeah, so that's all our movement done. So we're going to conduct attack checks. And still wanting to feel like I'm wanting to look at this in the real book, but conduct attack checks. No, let's look at the play rate. Yeah, I did use the play rate for this last time. Okay, so let's adjust the camera a little bit. Okay, so we're checking in ascending order. This is the only other unit that was active adjacent. He's 16, but we've got a 3 or a 4 in here, haven't we? We've got a 4 in here, so he's the lead unit doing a check. We've got 4, 7, 10 strength. So we've got 10. Now, I kind of missed it when I was talking about the last time. We need to remember that if there's any reserve units. Now, we've not got any reserve units, but I remember talking about it in the 69th Army, last impulse for the Soviets, and I never mentioned it, but don't think I did. But there was no 69th Army units anyway, but we do need to consider them. We need to look across, right, there's none, fair enough. Auxiliary card is assault coordination. We don't have an auxiliary card, so not that we would have done anything. And half the strength of units across the Dnieper. Right, and then we adjust with the fall, and there's not many. It's no improved position. It's not adjacent to supplied German unit. Yeah, so there's no adjustments to him. So what did I say? Was it 10? I forgot already. Yeah, so 10 to 3. No adjustments to him. So that is 3 to 1. And if it's greater than or equal to 3 to 1, yeah, that was also mentioned on the errata. I think I noted that myself, because I'm pretty sure I realised it was greater than or equal to C. I put a wee tick, a wee underline. So I done it for that one, if ratio is greater than or equal to 1 to 1. But I didn't notice that one. It showed it as attack if greater than 3 to 1. Well, that's in the errata to say that it's greater than or equal to 3 to 1. So, however, we've got 10 against 3, so we've got greater than 3 to 1 anyway. So, okay, so it's going to attack. We don't need to check what was it, tactical value. Yeah, it's going to be a go. So again, like I say, the only chit that could come up that could affect us here is a one hex attack chit. So yeah, that's possible, I suppose. Right. Okay. Well, let's go through the combat sequence then. Can we go on the play rate for this as well, Grant? Sure, you can start using it. Soviet attack, add active reserves, right, there's none of them. Draw a Soviet card and apply its combat tactics. Now remember, we need to be checking for overwhelming. I mean, I don't think this is going to happen this time, but we need to watch out for that one, obviously. So what I say, we've got 10 to 3, so we've got 3 to 1 odds. Yeah, are you sure this time though, Grant? Your counting's been terrible. 10 to 3, yeah, 3, 6, 9, 1 left over, 3 to 1. Chit pools there's only 3 2-step units there, so 3. Now, this guy is outside the barrage zone. We just got him out, we just moved him actually, didn't we? Yeah. So, but we do add the chit for the barrage zone, so that's 4 chit pools. And then we're now going to draw. Right, there's no overwhelming attack there. And we had no reserves to bring in to check for overwhelming as well. So I'll just zoom out to get this. And we've not got an auxiliary card, but he is getting to draw a combat tactic. So here we go. He gets right. So he gets artillery, but he's already got artillery. So this is one of the ones in the Soviet solo would be discarded and they wouldn't gain anything. However, like we've already looked at before, it does say for the Soviet attack, applying Soviet combat tactics in step 2 of the Soviet attack, one or more combat tactics may be applied to the attack if the attack is not overwhelming and the German defender at least one attacking Soviet unit is in a hex and Soviet support. Okay, where am I missing this part again? Yeah. Game turns 1 and 2 artillery. Right. It's step 3 within this combat tactics, but draw 1 card from the Soviet deck and apply any combat tactics listed on the card. Right, so we're trying to apply artillery, but we've already got artillery. Add a combat chit draw to the attack for each tactic on the card, even if that tactic does not otherwise apply to the attack. And then after resolving the combat, discard the card, exception if it's got the text that says shuffle it in. So that is telling me that it doesn't apply to the attack because you can't have 2 artilleries. That is right, isn't it? I mean, yeah. Yeah, we can't have. I can only get artillery once. However, it is getting a chit pool, so that is going to turn that into 5 chit pools, and because we're not benefiting from that, I'm just going to discard that card. It doesn't get shuffled in or anything, so it's away. Okay, so I think that's a set with what we're getting. Now, well, we could play a card. That's them played the card, and they would also check auxiliary card. There's not an auxiliary card, so I'm not adding that. Right, we can play German combat tactics then. So assault coordination is a no. We've got air power, combat engineers, or we've got pull out. We could pull out. This is a card we just drew, but I don't think I want to do that. I mean, I think I'd probably take my chances. We might get a retreat across the river here, which would be okay. I mean, obviously, if he got lucky and slaughtered us, that wouldn't be very nice. Combat engineers would allow us to put an IP on, wouldn't it? But again, I think I'd prefer to keep that card for the event engineers, and then get 3 IPs on some units. I think that's more beneficial. Yeah, I think we'll take our chances again. You know me by now, I'm always reluctant to play combat tactics. I think more so in this game, because we've got a limited amount of cards. We've only got one more card in the draw pile. The Soviets still have a bunch of cards. So we might have more important things to worry about. So let's just settle on what we've got. So it was 3-1 odds, 10-3, 5 chit pools, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the artillery barrage, and 1 for the extra artillery that doesn't quite count, but they get to cheat a wee chit in there. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, let's just do it then. Let's just draw 5 combat chits and see where we're at. Now I noticed that last time, because I'd made that mistake, I wasn't able to tell when I went back. I wasn't able to tell which chit I drew last. So I'm wondering if I should just show you them one at a time. There's no harm in me pausing and starting. And then that keeps it right that if I do find I've made a mistake and then somebody says, well, you should only have been drawing 4 chits, or you should have been drawing 6 chits, then, well, I suppose I've been drawing more of that. If I should only be drawing less, then at least I'll know which the last chit was drawn. So I'll probably do that. We'll see how cumbersome it becomes. Right, so 5 chits incoming. Okay, there's the first one. Bad start for us. Okay, not applying air power. Okay, that's a nicer one. Although maybe I would prefer to have removed the hit. I had 5-1 on the other side. It's the 5-1 that does D2. I think it's A1 D2. It's quite a strong chit, that. But anyway, they've got less than 4-1, so that's 3, 2 to come. Yeah, that's the ones that we kind of like. We don't have a defender adjacent. Dispersant's applied on the front side, but no defender adjacent, unfortunately. Right, one more. Okay, this is a rather painful finish. I thought NKVD not applying. Okay, what's on the backside? 3-1. Ouch. Well, I suppose it's only D2. Well, we're going to disperse though, aren't we? It does get us to retreat across the river, however. And I'll tell you what else it does. It's got A2 on it. Okay, so that's 5 chats. We had 3-1. They look all good. So we've got D2, A2. Right, okay, so 2 hits to us. Yeah, I mean the only thing with retreating obviously is we're going to open a gap up, aren't we? But what else do we do? So I could retreat into there, or I could go there, or there. I mean, these two look more appealing, don't they? Across the river, which that's the Donetsk River, isn't it? Aye. It only comes into it if all the units are attacking across it. Then we get a reduced hits by 1. But that also is a Woods hex. And we would also be proximate. Right, if I go there, they could advance. They've got mechanised units in there, could advance. Yeah, they're still going to be on that side of the river though. So if I'm in there, is that better? Is it better to be in there or there? Feels like this is more in front of the, sorry, maybe show you what's down here. This is the VP, this is Chugev, where their front marker is, their objective marker. You know, obviously the slightly safer hex being the woods, but yeah, this is a better hex, isn't it? Because the road comes down here into Chugev, where if I've got him here, then he can't come down that road. So I'm going to retreat him to there with my 2 hits. The 2 hits I've got to satisfy, and obviously it becomes dispersed as well, which means he's got to try and hang on to the end of the turn now. Well, unless we, yeah, but I'm not going to play a 57 core card just to undisperse him, am I? No, you never know. Okay, so the Soviets have 2 hits to take, which is the nice part. So, and we're maybe going to get to use that table now, aren't we? Yeah, I've got that open at that bit. Right, so assigning hits to Soviet attackers. And there wasn't unfulfilled hits or anything like that, so he's got to take 2 hits. So first hit is remove a step, and when we're picking the Soviets, it's the most steps and the highest selector number. I think it's the infantry on the top. Now, remember, some of these units might be here right now, and unless we don't get any kind of response for a while, and then I'll just need to move on. So he takes the first hit. Right, I'm gonna put these down now and put them in order, and we can work out later. Well, the thing is, advance after combat here might mean that that balances things out. We'll see. We'll see. So hits remaining after first step loss, and then there's this table. I wouldn't mind just seeing it in the rule book as well. Where are we? Right, there it's there. After moving a step for the first hit, use the table below to assign additional hits by comparing the total steps remaining in the attacking units to the number of hits remaining to be assigned. Disregard hits in excess of those shown on the table. Okay, so let me try and work that one out. So we've got 1 hit remaining. How many steps have we remaining? Well, it'll be 5, won't it? Because we've reduced 1. So we've got 5 steps and 1 hit to assign. So attacker steps. So we go down the. Right. Let me just see if I can make sure I'm getting this right. Here's the table here. So attacker steps is 5, and hits remaining after first step loss is 1. So we come down to there. Sorry, that one there, isn't it? So it's got 1 and then OD in brackets. So so 1 is this number of steps removed. However, the OD, oh right, it's 0D. So use parenthetical result if less than 4 cards in Soviet draw pile and defender didn't vacate VP hex, otherwise use primary result. Okay, so what is... Right, use parenthetical result. That's a tough word for me, that one. If there's less than 4 cards in the Soviet draw pile, well, there's not. There's more than 4 cards in the Soviet draw pile. So I don't think we're using that in brackets number. That's how I'm going to pronounce that word. In brackets, it says 0D. So if we had less than 4 cards, and the defender didn't vacate a VP hex, yeah, what that's saying is they wouldn't take the hit and they would disperse. However, if he was vacating a VP hex, we wouldn't obviously disperse because you'd want to move in and take the VP hex. So he wasn't leaving a VP hex, and we've not got less than 4 cards in the solid draw pile. So otherwise we use the primary result, and the primary result is to take 1 step loss. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine by me. Well, it does mean that they're pushing on and may visit this guy again and may pressure Chugiev as well. So we need to take it from the highest number of steps and the highest number. So it's going to be this guy. He's got 2 steps, the same as the other one, but he reduces to mechanized infantry rather than armor, so that's good for us. Right, and that satisfies the 2 hits. So advance after combat. Now here's a problem then, isn't it? Because that is not a primary direction from there to there, however it is from there to there. So I could be possibly having to just leave this. Well, you know what, we're at the end of the video, Grant. Into the first that applies. VP hex, no. Primary direction, well, if it was in there, yes, and it would be an auto advance. Hex enabling supply, no. Across river and closer objective, no. Secondary direction, no. If advancing center hex, yeah, see, it's not a guarantee then. You know what I think I could do is just leave that there, because, and then I'll come and fix it come the beginning of the next part. So it might well be that these units advance into here or make a 2 hex advance, so they could be in that area somewhere once I work out what it is I'm going to do. So let's quickly look at, right, that's that combat over. I'll leave that wee cube there just as a reminder that some of these might be in there. Let's just double check back to, what is it, 9.4 I think, isn't it? Do the attack check. 9.4, yeah, we're starting to get things. There's no reserves, we've been there before. Oh, and what I should have actually done was used John's. You know what, but I was thinking of doing there though, John, is, no, but then if I do that to say that they've all moved, then I could be confused with that. So I think he's still right. So what we should have done there was used his. Yeah, we'll give it a try. I don't quite like them turned all that way, but you've got to do something different with them to show them. That shows that these have now attacked. Let's just say they've not advanced after combat yet though, so we're going to possibly adjust that. So this guy's moved, we can do an attack check here. So he's 3 to 2, there's no reserves, he doesn't get any bonuses, so we've got 1 to 1 odds. So we're going to do a tactical value check. Is that right? No auxiliary card, no reserves. Yeah, let's bash on. So the command value of the card is only a 1, you can see there. So it makes me think that this is probably not going to happen. So that's a 1. Situational strength is greater than or equal to 2 to 1. No, it's not, is it? It's 3 to 2. Yeah, so it's only 1 to 1. If so, artillery barrage bonus applies, well, it does here. So okay, that's a 2. He is still in the barrage zone. If an attack, if it's in support, yes, +1 to 3. If any attacking units are surrounded, the attacking unit is not surrounded, no. If flanking will apply, it will not. However, or defender will be surrounded and unable to trace supply. Again, we have a catch. Because if there's no units here, then he's not surrounded and can trace supply. 2, 3 on the road and away. If a unit should be in here, he is surrounded and cannot trace supply. Well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt to see if it's going to matter. Let's just say, hang on, I've missed one there. If only Soviet units have armour, I missed. That's not the case anyway, so we're still at 3. And then if any attacking units are surrounded, right, no. Let's give him the +1 for surrounded, so that takes it to a 4. And then if target hex is VP, has got a VP of 2 or more, no. If all combat tactics and auxiliary card apply, no. If less than 4 cards is what it drop well, no. So it's either a 4 result or a 3 result. it's not a 7 result, so it's not going ahead. We are done. That's just checked all combats. Place eligible reserves, that's from 4+, that's from 2+, that's from 4+. Remove disperse markers, no. Right, okay. So we are done, apart from we need to fix a little bit here. So I'll just leave these guys like that. We'll wrap this up. We'll get an answer to our question, hopefully. And we'll make some adjustments. And yeah, be back with part 8 for another impulse for us. Hopefully all went well. Well, it's clear we just need to find out about that bit as well. I'm sure somebody will come back with some comments. Hopefully it's John. Hopefully John's available maybe over the weekend and can come and confirm that, and we can see where we're at. Yeah, okay. Right, I'll be back with part 8 sometime soon, guys. Okay, cheers.